Broadcasting from the jungles of Southeast Asia, it is time for the Ed Namrock Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fans of the WWE, UFC, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. Welcome to another episode of The Truman Show. I'm kidding. What's up, y'all? Thanks for joining me again. First and foremost, he just tuned in. I want to give a shout out once again to my man right here, Whip Patrol, the 5 Foot Viking podcast on CNN, Fox News, C-SPAN. He's also on Telemundo, Univision, all that shit. I'm kidding. Please like, follow, subscribe. He had an amazing podcast today dealing with meditation. It was kind of like a live guided kind of meditation. They're very interesting because I've always been meaning to ask the who, what, when, and where about meditation. It was with Dr. Kathy Groover. I believe it was drkathygroover.com that she shouted out. But please like and subscribe. I'm very collaborative with him as well. Actually, next Tuesday is the Android versus iOS podcast with our friend Hector Flaco Rodriguez, otherwise known as Fuser, and his old truck is called La Poderosa. There's stories behind that. Tune in. It's going to be great because it's going to be the Android, iOS kind of like, I guess the Cliff Notes version of what it is, what it did, and how it revolutionized mobile technology and the wireless industry in general. But like and follow the 5 Foot Viking podcast, just like that, just 5 Foot Viking podcast on Facebook, on YouTube, and Instagram. And pretty soon, we're going to hit up Patreon. We're going to hit up Twitch. I mean, the sky's the limit with this stuff because at this point, I mean, with the current state of course, not only California, but the world, I mean, it turns out that there's a lot of opportunities virtually that we never even took advantage of. And they've been around for so long. It's time for the creative juices just to start flowing. Don't fight the feeling, as Too Short would say back in the day. Be creative, get in tune with what you wanted to do, even if it doesn't work out. You will fail, you will fuck up, but you gotta learn from your mistakes and just bounce back. And I share this personal experience because I've played music for so long, where not every song is going to be a hit. Not every lyric or rhyme you're going to write is going to be the next, Chronic or Chronic 2001, or even the next Enter Sandman from Metallica. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through trial and tribulations, and you really got to kind of show up, persevere, and just pick yourself back up when you fall. Chips are going to be down. I mean, you've seen it time and time again, especially professional athletes, when they get pinned into a corner and they prevail, and sometimes they don't. And I'll use a perfect example with this past Super Bowl that just happened, where and I'm going to use Patrick Mahomes as the example, where the guy cannot get a break. He was being pressured, he was being sacked, he was being basically harassed at the line of scrimmage. For those of you who don't get the term, he didn't stand a chance, and he still got to throw the ball where it was supposed to be and almost made some spectacular throws that I've never even seen someone do that before. And all it takes is for a wide receiver to not catch the ball, and that's all she wrote. Too many missed opportunities. Could they have won the game? Absolutely. Did I want to see Tom Brady win another Super Bowl? No, not with Tampa Bay. you guys know I'm very loyal to my team, but at the same time, I've been very, very open to what's happening in my hometown of LA. Me and my buddy Roger that I'll bring in, we've been following the Rams diligently, and I was waiting, and this is exactly what I was waiting for. Is they came into LA with a specific kind of regime already with Coach Sean McVay, with Jared Goff, and they had Todd Gurley, the Super Bowl squad that they just had. But now they got this dude from Detroit who's childhood best friends with Clayton Kershaw. His name is Matthew Stafford. And all I gotta say is everyone's talking so much shit about the Rams because of this, and you have no idea how big of a contender in the NFC the Rams have just become. I'm not like, here's the thing. I'm also a football amateur analyst, and all you got to do is give him one fucking wide receiver. That's it. That's all true. And he's got some weapons. So watch out for the LA Rams coming up. And I'm not jumping on this wagon at all, but I want to give props to the LA Chargers too, because they have a badass fucking quarterback, man. And I cannot deny the talent. I just, if I had a choice, I would choose the Rams over the Chargers, only because I think it's a better suited team. And I really want to go see the stadium when it opens. It's going to be badass. So, but with that note, let me bring in my homie. He's trying to get his life together over there. I don't even know what the hell you doing. You got the red light special, you got the blue light special. Man. So again, in the podcasting world, Roger and I have always learned that there's always ins and outs to this shit. We're surprised it even works the way it does. And sometimes you got to use your mobile phone. Sometimes you got to use your computer. Sometimes you don't even have a stand. Sometimes, you got, whatever, man. So, how's your computer doing, by the way?
It's still stuck.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's still on the boot screen. So I don't know. I'm gonna fucking figure it out later. But it's bullshit. I still don't understand how that whole with Austin is what you said, but we'll figure that out later.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, you just said about Texas, so yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe I'll get into that later, but that's a little bit. Yeah. It's a little bit complicated. It took for me a little bit, like maybe over an hour to fucking understand. But guess who decided to join us on the podcast today?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a minute. I mean, I don't think we've had him since. Man, I think maybe last year in October or November. No, even before that. And that's Mr. Preston Esquire.
Ho ho!
With the Da Vinci pick or whatever the hell that is in the background. That's beautiful as fuck.
This is my kingdom.
This is my kingdom. Thanks for joining us again, bro.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Roger. It's great to see
you.
Yo,
I know. It's like, it's funny because me and Roger are reminiscing about, just to give everyone a long story short, when I first got out of audio school, Preston had an idea for a mixtape, and it was very well organized. It's probably one of the best organized projects. Out of all the budgets I've been in, Preston, it was the most organized and well orchestrated for the budget that you had.
Very close.
And the way it sounds, no one would believe that me, you, and Roger were in your room on the second story with you in the closet recording your vocals with your Rode NT1A.
Yes, sir.
And no one would have thought that. No. And it's crazy because that was 8 years ago.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah, the summer of 2013.
Yeah.
And fortunate for me, I wound up working for the private college, the trade school Pinnacle, and they let me use the little sound rooms and stuff like that for us to use. and it was cool, man. And then, people came and went, but obviously Roger's like, hey, seems like Preston is the captain of the football team here, so to speak. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is his project. But
honestly, I felt like that was the coolest time of my life when it came to like being in the music industry and the career of like trying to become an aspiring artist. And I just recently tried to do a project last year, or a little prior to that. It was a little bit 2019, 2020. Suffice it to say that 2020 was a shit year for everybody in every aspect. But, considering that it had been like 7-8 years since I had, come out with a project, I figured I would do something and kind of got shut down. So this is the year that I released something last year. It was a quick single, self-medicate on a album that's still in the works. So be on the lookout, kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, it's funny, Roger. He came out with this single and he actually filmed a music video for it. And where did you film that at? It was somewhere in the desert.
So yeah, I worked for a while at Dash Radio, and there was a couple of guys that had actually been interning there, came out from the UK, and shout out to Demola, who is the director and the shooter for the project. He is a great, incredible visionary. Kid is 17 years old who shot the video and edited it and came out with the project. Shot it out at Vasquez Rocks, July of
Vasquez Rocks, yes.
And it was what's really funny, a cool look to the video, and I think the whole like the aesthetic of the video was actually led to us by how awesome it was at Vasquez Rocks. So appreciate being able to.
Roger doesn't remember Vasquez Rocks, or do you? That was one of our stops when we were chaperone camping trips.
Oh, nice.
Are you sure? I thought it was.
Yes, and that's where Preston filmed the video. That's why in the video it had and this is the topic we're gonna get into because these motherfuckers are impatient. Look at this shit. Boris is like, just tuned in and you were talking about quarterbacks. Now we were talking about Los Aliens.
Quarterbacks.
And then shout out to Angel, man, because Angel worked at SoFi. He was part of that whole build out, that whole outfitting of the stadium.
Shit, Angel.
Yeah, he worked at SoFi for almost a year, worked in the sheet metal auto shell in the side and the suites and concession. That's fucking awesome. hey man, they're winning me over, Preston.
We're
winning me over
this year. We've been rebuilding. Sean McVay has got us. I was devastated when we lost Todd Gurley last season. We picked up Cam Akers. He actually proved himself this year.
Yeah.
Great. When you were singing their praises in the beginning of the intro of this video, I was just like, I can't believe it. It's my boy right here.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, even Roger, he's like, hey, the Rams are playing. Hey, the Rams. And what really won us over, to be honest with you, with me and Roger, was that Monday night football game against fucking Kansas City when they almost scored 130 points. Remember that, Roger? We were watching that.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. It's like
that was something that Tecmo Bowl, man.
That was hell yeah. That was something straight out of a video game. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, Boris has a question. To get in the mood, should I do beer or shrooms? Let me get some story de los aliens. Well, do both. That'll see, look at Jose's already like putting emojis. Okay, so here's go for it.
Yeah, I've been looking through my archives of footage that I've had. I actually spotted an alien, everybody. I've been looking through my footage. I unfortunately did not find the footage of the alien that I saw, of course, but this week I am going to be providing that footage to Edgar for him to be able to post up for everybody to see that, because I do no longer involve myself on social media. He'll release.
I don't blame you.
We saw an alien in the craziest looking fucking car I've ever seen in my life. Stay tuned for that coming up this week. I guarantee you I will have that for you, everybody.
In a car?
No way. In a car?
It wasn't driving. It was in the back seat. It was looking at us. It was the very weirdest situation, and the footage you guys will see will give you some inkling as to like how we felt in the car. We're talking, you hear the whole video. It's like a 7-8 minute video. So that video I will be providing to you guys sometime this week. I will have it for you guys.
Ooh.
Whoa, okay. Are you serious?
I'm already getting goosebumps.
Okay, so I mean,
there are things that are out there that, for instance, you guys talked a little bit about it, the whole Bob Lazar aspect of like different interdimensional travel, anti-gravity, Sector 7 and work at Dreamland and Area 51. I have been a fanatic on this stuff, many a late nights and many a YouTube wormholes and rabbit holes, figuring out like off of this planet even figures its way out to get to us. But I promise everybody.
Well, let's enlighten the listeners as to who Bob Lazar is, and he's still alive, obviously. But he's I guess you could label him an official American conspiracy theorist, even though some conspiracies do come true. They do become unclassified or whatnot. That's the fun part of this. I mean, there's some things you fancy, but then there's the QAnon shit that gets a little bit too overboard for me. But not to say you don't fancy this stuff, but Bob Lazar claimed in the late 1980s, I didn't know this, to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology at what he described as a secret site called S4, Sector 4.
Sector 4.
Yeah.
Yes. And
installation at Groom Lake in Nevada, which is a little bit the same compound of Area 51. So people are storming Area 51 a couple of years back. I think it was like in September or something in 2019. Everybody's trying to do that.
Yeah.
Did that go down?
Aliens.
Because I'm more interested in the actual alien stuff than the people who follow alien stories.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same stance that Bob Lazar has, coming full circle.
Yeah.
Like he's a very he follows the science. He's interested in the technology aspect of what alien technology he's involved in, reverse engineered things. And everybody really should just go watch the Netflix documentary that they had on Bob Lazar. Dude is incredible. But long story short is he is a scientist who was recruited to work for the government, was eventually part of a team of people who worked on alien technology, reverse engineered everything from, I think they were back engineering gravity fields. And they were actually able to, there was a gravitational a machine that created its own gravitational field. And gravity isn't something that you turn on and off. So,
what did Flacco say? Isn't Sector 4 the ones who found the cube and froze Megatron? You know what? Oh, okay, but you bring that.
I thought there were
you bring that
7.
up, Preston.
That was Sector 7.
But you bring that up as soon as you said Sector 7. Wait, that rings a bell. Now, this is okay. The word sector is used, which is interesting in a Hollywood movie, and this is something we'll get into. The whole conditioning involved is. There's a lot of depictions, and I know Roger has mentioned this before, where Hollywood has basically done this to us since we were kids.
Well, they give the information to everybody, so that what it does is it makes it seem as if when you're talking about it to people, they just like you to someone who just watched a film about it. Made it
right
that when you bring it up, it makes you lose credibility.
Donald said he was abducted by an alien. What? Are you sure? Or they were just from Norway with no papers. Come on, man. He's like, she was so cool. I married her. Ah, good. See, I love story from an alien. So here's okay. So aside from the stuff that we've already kind of we've dipped our toes, obviously, and I wanted to show you guys something that aired back in December, and of course we've been in a pandemic. Things are good, not good, not good, going back and forth. But one thing is for sure, while this is going on, I think there's just stuff that is not, they're just not spotlighting because, I have my own opinions about the media, obviously. So, because there's media. Oh, wow. What is that?
Ooh.
Oh, I just introduced Roger to gummies, by the way. He loves them.
They're a lot of fun.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Roger really liked them. So how many milligrams are those?
These are pussy ones. These are 10.
This is a pussy. I gave Roger what?
They're just 10. All right.
I take like 4 of these at a time. But so I watched, quick segue. I watched the Joe Rogan with Diaz. What's his first name?
Fucking cocksucker Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz. There you go, a fucking cocksucker. He
came in on the longest job. He's the one in the cell that burned up.
He eats those stars that are like a fucking 400, 500 milligrams and shit.
Yeah, that guy's insane.
That motherfucker's aliens. Talk about that.
Yeah, Roger. He was caught on video on his podcast on the Church of What's Happening Now, with his co-host Lee Syatt, and they were just on. Dude, they weren't even on Mars, dude. They were in a black hole, bro. That's how fucking faded they were.
Do they do other shit besides just edibles, or? I mean, you could have you have those like crazy mental trips off of just weed trips.
Yeah, I mean, Roger would know.
You.
How high did you get, Roger?
So
no time for that.
No, so yeah, we'll share that later. That's interesting.
Yeah, some other time. Yeah.
So they just get blitzed, dude. They do gravity bombs. I've heard they do edibles, everything under the sun dealing with cannabis. That's what they do on that show. But so let me show you this video I came across, and I want you guys' thoughts on it. And this shit's legit. It's from a major news outlet, but I just wanted both of you to hear the context of this shit, because I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like, I don't know. So I'll let you guys be the judge. Let me play it right now.
Piqued my interest.
It's
President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are.
Okay, keep in mind what she said. That, when President Trump was still our president in December, of course, he knew about it. Right? Well, that's the first thing that caught my attention.
Right? They're privy to some level of declassified information.
Right. I mean, they obviously probably get the same briefing. So, but let me continue on here.
NBC News Chief Global Correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years. Not immigrants, but extraterrestrials.
You hear that shit?
He had to really emphasize that it wasn't not immigrants.
But this guy was Israeli's former space security chief for 30 fucking years, right?
Okay.
30 years. And what the fuck, man? Seriously? Let's see. Dude.
He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general...
Yes, because then all these motherfuckers are going to race to Walmart and Costco and just take all the toilet paper again, as we saw with the fucking pandemic at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. You would have threatened the galactic wall.
Bro, it's like, fuck, man. Okay, but then he explains what came after that. So this makes sense to me.
Says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Well, the good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
What the fuck?
Now, this former head of a branch of Israel's defense ministry is 87. He was very well respected, at least until now. And he said all this in an interview with an Israeli newspaper in Hebrew, but it's really taken off after parts of it were published in English by the Jerusalem Post today. He says he's come forward now in the hope that his news will be accepted as true. He notes that if he'd made these claims 5 years ago, he would have been hospitalized, but now he says, I've got nothing to lose. Well, so far, President...
Wait. He would have been hospitalized.
Well, yeah.
The fuck does he mean by that?
Do you think that the world is ready to hear that aliens exist?
Oh,
okay, first of all,
no, hell no. No way, man.
Do you believe in it? You don't believe in aliens?
Do I
No,
believe
I do. No, I believe. I'm agreeing to what you said earlier. They're not ready.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement that aliens
Yes.
exist in our opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay,
Yes.
so with that being said, I personally don't believe. Do you believe that people are ready to hear that is true? That's real.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. They can't even deal with a pandemic.
What's your reasoning for what?
Wait.
What's the reasoning for not being ready to hear that fucking ET is gonna play fucking poker with you every Wednesday?
Yeah. Why do you think people aren't ready to hear that?
The reason for that is because what I was explaining to you earlier about the mental conditioning that Hollywood movies have done to us as children, and even in our adult lives, they're perceived as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, we don't even fucking know. Who knows?
So let's say aliens were real, right? And then they came here. Is seeing believing to everybody?
Not to everybody, obviously.
So that's why I think it'd be bad. Just off that top, right?
Yeah.
So there are people who believe so much in, for instance, just one aspect of life is religion. They're religious being such a humongous connector of people. For instance, there's a large portion of people. I mean, what is the largest religion? Is like Christianity is like the largest religion.
I think Catholicism is actually the biggest one.
Okay, so Catholicism, right?
Yeah.
Let's say every person who was Catholic, believed in Jesus, believed in some form of that, Catholicism, Christianity. I mean, every religion that basically negates the existence of aliens, negates their belief instantaneously. So with that being said, it would no longer be an entity of an origin of alien descent. It would be like, it would have to be to them, it would be likened to some level of spiritual being or something that is outside of our understanding, which is really everything that's cosmically outside of, our view of human existence. But consider the fact that an alien came on to our through our atmosphere onto our planet, shook the hand of Donald Trump last year because he was the president last year, or Joe Biden now, right? There would still be people who say that is not real, regardless of that being reality, and that would shake people's worlds.
And I'm pretty sure the briefing that these heads of state have gotten either have one of the two reactions. Either they're scared shitless, like, whoa, what the fuck? Or two, they're like, okay, well, we can coexist, but I don't think the public is ready. Hence this guy being the space security chief for 30 years in Israel saying, okay, yeah, I know you guys exist. We're cool. We even know you're not immortal. You're probably more feeble than we are. And that's kind of what this is just a theory I read a while back, for example, that Jesus Christ was an extraterrestrial and he had a gift, but he was mortal, man. He wasn't superhuman, none of this shit. And who's to say? I mean, fuck, the questions are coming in, guys. See, we just opened up Pandora's box.
Isn't that what I mentioned last time? I said that before, where a person who was abducted asked her abductors,
Absolutely.
what about this guy Jesus? And they said, oh, he's just like you, but he was born different. He was born with that switch in his brain, or that switch in his mind turned on, where
Definitely.
he had more I guess they're trying. I guess from what I take away from what was said is he had more access to his brain than what we normally have. That goes back to what Einstein said. If we had access to 100% of our brain, we would become pure energy or something like that.
Yeah. I've heard. You've heard about that before too, Preston. That if we use 100% of our brain, it would be, we would spontaneously combust or some shit like that. We would become just pure energy and just kind of,
like
we wouldn't be able to, like, on Earth.
Would not be able to hold whatever. It's some crazy shit. But what she said was that Christ had this access to his brain that allowed him to heal people with just touching. Because that's that's going to bring up a subject that we're going to talk about too. Is our body's ability to heal itself is what fascinates. It's a theory. It was not a theory, but another interview where I heard where this man said that these extraterrestrials that they were in contact with, that they're fascinated by the human's body ability to heal itself and heal itself quickly. So Christ had this ability to just say, okay, yeah, I can touch you and whatever's ailing you will go away, because we have that. We're supposed to have that kind of ability, but we're not ready for it. We're not at that enlightened stage in our evolution and able to do that for each other.
Yeah.
So that's why.
And let's bookmark that too, because Wit on his podcast today had Dr. Kathy Groover. And she mentioned something about meditative states where people can change their fucking body temperature, bro.
Yeah.
What's changing the metaphysics?
That is fucking wild. Yeah. So, okay, let's finish the video, and these guys got some good fucking questions. We're gonna get to them. So let's see what the rest says here.
Trump has not tweeted about this, though remember a year ago he did set up the Space Force as the fifth branch of the US Armed Forces. Well, we did ask the White House, the Department of Defense, and Israeli officials to comment. So far, they have not responded to the NBC News request, and I wonder if they ever will. Alison.
Now, think about that for a second. Remember, obviously, I have my thoughts about Donald Trump and opinions, whatever. And first and foremost, let this be a disclaimer. We're as apolitical as we can be, but our habits and our lifestyles don't depict that. And don't, just because I'm wearing a Rage Against the Machine shirt doesn't mean I'm fucking anti Walmart or fucking Amazon. But that's a whole different topic. That's a whole different podcast. However, I will say this. Don't look to politicians to change and better the world. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Period. Because they're public servants. You're supposed to agree and disagree with what they do. But the one thing that I'm going to bring up is the Space Force stuff, right? This was the laughingstock of the media for a while. And I was like, wait, why? I'm like, it makes sense to have a Space Force. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, what if, and this is around the time that I remember seeing Tom DeLonge. Do you remember Tom DeLonge, Preston? Mm-hmm. He's he was probably the more whinier singer and guitar player in Blink-182, Roger. He turned into he turned into a devout
UFOologist.
Yeah.
Super.
And he went on Joe Rogan and he could not just spill the beans. And I was wondering why. I'm like, this guy's acting weird. And lo and behold, like what he wanted to talk about, he couldn't, because I don't know. He probably signed an NDA. He was probably going to get hospitalized. I don't know, institutionalized, as Whit mentioned that could possibly happen. You get fucking, what do they call it? You get
5150.
Yeah, but what is it? Not admitted into the hospital. You get committed. There you go. You get committed into a mental institution. There you go. So a lot of that stuff kind of made sense as to what he was referring to, but he was not being straight up with what he was talking about, Roger. It was really interesting. I don't know if you've seen that episode, Preston, but it's very, very, yes. And it was a major red flag. And now I know, because I'm like, okay, Space Force makes sense. I'm like, what? Obviously, if They know they created it for a fucking reason.
Well, there's two fronts of like how you can look at Space Force and the release of Space Force in the eyes of the general public, right? So consider the fact that people are going to look at a branch of military as like, military or as a form of power that has all of the funding, everything, a level of legitimacy to it as well, right? So what would the next natural state that the human race would take if we were going to be looking at, a space race, right? It would be looking at creating a space force and leading that in today's world as the United States being kind of the leader in a lot of technological advancement for humanity. That would kind of make sense to do, to create a space force. Now that in tandem with the fact that the United States government has been reverse engineering. I mean, Roswell, all of the stories we've heard of growing up as kids. Some of the viewers had actually put up some of the information from that before earlier in the podcast. But for like the person who doesn't know anything about ufology or any of the things that go along with that, we've all heard of like the Roswell crashes and technology and the government having that and pretending like it doesn't exist. There have been a few times where they have declassified information on UFOs. Now, when they say UFOs, they don't actually mean technology of another planet or an origin outside of the United States or off of this planet. Really, it just comes down to unidentified flying object technology that lives and it breathes on this earth, right? So when they declassify information like that, they don't call those things they used to call them. Terminology has changed. So when looking at, politicians and things that we're using information from, common terminologies, UFOs, things like that, it really like comes into what you were talking about before with, the movies, really making it seem like everybody knows this information. You're not anything that we don't know, or you're bullshitting because everybody feels like that is something that comes from a film, right? So science fiction typically actually is given so much of the physics that involves the technology that they have. They just really disconnect the whole like how it happens, right? So Back to
the Future made Daniel Cho believe that science would give us a do-over one day. That's so fucking true, man.
Considering
so fucking true
now of everything that has happened in terms of human existence and technology and where we're at, we made such evolutionary leaps and bounds in certain points in time in history where the technological advancements we made in the late 70s throughout the early 90s, that time exponential. I mean, they believe that everything from fiber optics to certain levels of like chemical radiation and things that was all predicated on the United States ability to have gotten and understood alien technology. So a lot of that stuff that Bob Lazar, and this is where it like literally connects the two, right? Everything that Bob Lazar has said. Now it's not like 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, 10 out of 10 times this motherfucker has said something, come out with information, given the public things that he has worked on, spoke about, dealt with, has all been declassified, has all come out to be true, has all this guy sat across from one of the greatest podcasters of our generation, spoke to him candidly for 2+ hours did a documentary about him with zero like shutting questions down. There are so many opportunities that could have like come up in the number of times that this gentleman has come out and given information that he could have lost credibility and never has. So when it's 87 years old, the joint chief of whoever he was, the space defense for Israel, that person probably could be telling the truth, but the level of credibility he has is nowhere near where someone like Bob Lazar is, right? Especially in the UFO community. And it gives credibility to what he's saying by him not being a credible person at all. What I mean by that is someone who has been involved in that. he doesn't just come out of that for no reason and say complete opposite saying because he's 87 years old and crazy. He said it for a reason. And basically what you're saying is like being committed to a mental institution. That is the path for those people. You know, they say that people end up in dead, in jail, institutionalized, or in jail when you do drugs, when you do the crazy. When you are a ufologist, or you're involved in those things, and you talk about certain shit, where you end up is an institution. Where you end up is like that house, crazy people. They make you out to be someone that you're not.
Totally, and you know, it's funny that Whip brings this up because I stated this earlier. The media is fucking fake, right? And I say this with all due disrespect now because
absolutely,
I am so tired of. I mean, I stopped watching the news a long time ago, Roger. You know this. Even Roger's like, dude, I don't even like watching the fucking news. I'm clueless. Like he's like, you know, I'll browse here and there. He'll get some from Reddit. He'll get some from his phone app, whatever. Reddit, but even that, it's like you still have to be subjective to everything. Like the three of us here, we're from a generation that comes from very, I'm not going to say defiant culture.
Question everything.
We were taught to question everything because of all the shit that we saw in the 90s, for example, and all the shows. Like once the X-Files came out, boom, that single-handedly planted a seed in my head, right? The truth is out there. Remember, that's what it would say. That alone conditioned me to say, okay, hey, don't believe everything that they tell you. Take it at face value. And don't get me wrong, man. I got a lot of friends that are conformists, and that's totally fine. Okay. Like I've had friends tell me, like, "Hey, maybe you should just listen to your California overlords and not get carried away." And I'm like, yes and no. Okay, you know, I'm not going to take your advice for it because you're living in a paradise and I'm not. And but yeah, there's so much disinformation out there, and I can't even like begin to explain how the internet just got way out of control, man.
Well, this is very, very cool aspect of how the internet really has given people information, right? So we all like the dark web accounts for 97% of the actual internet that exists, right?
Yes.
Let's take away all the pedophile aspects and the contract killing aspects and all the weird spooky aspects of like the weird dark holes that the dark web has, right? And let's look at like informational aspect of what the dark web has. I mean, they give information from everything that like there are conspiracy theories out there. Everybody knows that they exist, but they're the same tunnels of information, if you will, that funnel things like, you know, the Clintons and the XYZ people are hanging out on fucking Epstein's Island. And then that shit happens. Right. So it's real. It's always been real, but then it surfaces when it hits mainstream media. Right. Yeah. So at what point in time do these underground pipelines of information kind of expose the real life reality in which we live in? And then the media pulls like a status quo veil over our eyes to keep that status quo, make us feel like everything is okay. That's the same pipeline of information that shares shit about fucking there are aliens and extraterrestrials and finds fucking files and information that they're able to declassify this stuff, which is, again, earlier I was talking about how the government has declassified information. So when they use terminology like UFOs, they're no longer called UFOs. It's no longer called Area 51. They went through the names of Sector 4, Dreamland, they've done all this stuff. So we are so late with this information that by the time we find it out, I mean, the government has already declassified 3 videos of what they have said are extraterrestrial. Not extraterrestrial. They have said are UFOs, confirmed UFOs. Now, again, they are
the Pentagon one, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, where the fucking guys are tracking it in a plane. Both of them are looking at it, watching it in a jet, going so goddamn crazy. Defines the gravity and everything. The laws of physics are defined, which again goes back to what Bob Lazar was saying, having worked on crafts where they're reverse engineering things. There are so many levels of information to this where it is from levels of like, they're going to make you look crazy if you say this on a base level to like They make it seem like everybody knows this. Well, it's mass media information is saying this. Oh, that's science fiction. So there's so many levels to it that by the time that you get to certain aspects of this, right?
Yeah.
Roger, you were saying that Jesus potentially could have been an extraterrestrial. That's what you were, watching, right?
I was just saying that. No, what I was saying is he was a highly evolved human.
There you go.
Like,
okay,
more evolved. So, like, he was born out of his time, I guess.
Okay,
now,
so right there is very important because
right.
when you look at traveling in space, they don't use miles per hour. They don't use terminology like what we use here, because when you're leaving forces like the sun, you're leaving gravity, you're leaving things where time doesn't exist. So when they explain to people things like distance, you're not just getting in a plane and flying off of this, planet, and you're just flying through stuff. You're flying through antimatter. You're flying through things, and time doesn't exist in that time frame. So a very good.
It's funny, Preston. You bring that up with antimatter. I've heard that term before. What the fuck is an antimatter?
I'm not an expert. I have no idea what
I've heard about it.
I just know that it is a substance in space. Right,
it's a substance. No shit.
It's something that they're able to. It's something that they're able to measure. It's something that they're able to observe and see. Now, again, it's an actual tangible fucking substance. That's crazy. I'm really into this kind of shit, and I really like to read. Check out what people who are big scientists and very respected in that community have to say about it. So, when it comes to space travel, they measure and they say a thing that everybody has heard is light years, right? So, when you're looking at light years, light is hitting us, we're looking backwards through time. We're looking at things that have happened so far before that it took so long to get to us that we're looking at light that if it was 20 million light years away, it happened 20 million years ago by the time that we're seeing it, right? So when we're looking at things like that and we're thinking of being traveled that distance to come see us, they're not traveling distance really. They're not traveling time really. It doesn't take them time. It's like this something that we aren't able to see. It's almost kind of like the fourth dimension. It's something that we know exists, but we're not able to observe. It's something that if we did observe, it's a lot of variables there, right? So take that into consideration when this is said. But they look at aliens.
Yeah, keep going.
They look at aliens similarly. I mean, in terms of Bob Lazar, when explaining that this is what it is, people who believe in what that line of belief is, they really look at it like human existence is just a place marker in the infinite amount of possibilities in which time could have potentially happened, right? So time is not linear, and we know that based off of a lot of things in quantum physics and string theory and science, right? So with the fact that, I've heard a kind of a strange thing that this is kind of where this is coming from. And it basically says that extraterrestrials really are just us in the future coming back to ourselves through time in which we understand, right? So let's break that down. Us in the future, humanity existed in a long so you guys have seen the movie Prometheus in terms of
I was just about to say that. Oh shit. You read my fucking mind.
That was information and the theory there was a theory that originated prior to the film's prior to the creator of that film's existence that took that theory and created a film out of it called Prometheus, right? So
yes.
There are stories throughout time, and I'm a philosophy major, right? So there are stories throughout time that basically look at things like, you guys have seen Glass and that line of films, with
M. Night Shyamalan.
There you go. The dude was basically saying that comic books are, and I know I'm getting on a big tangent, but it comes full circle. Just give me a minute. Basically,
go for it.
Are a form of communication, and through time, it really became a storybook and information that people communication just went through that, right? So stories and information was kind of translated through time in the form of comic books. Now if you say like human you're looking at information and not getting all of the story. Well, yeah, I mean, look at everything that has happened throughout time. We don't know what happened in Egypt, yet those things predate anything that happened to do with like the timeline that Christians believe. But supposedly Christians are the only ones who are correct in how humanity and life on the universe existed. God just snapped his fingers and we all came to be, right, from nothing to something. And right, so it's like there are stories and information that have been handed down through time that we have lost as human beings. And maybe we never even had it. I mean, time has existed and the universe has existed a lot longer than any of us, right? So
totally.
Look, all of the things that we're trying to really just like break down the information of, gather it, and like kind of sift through it, comes back to show us that like all of what we know predates anything religious or things like in that nature, right? It's kind of bigger than that. So
it's fun. It's funny you should bring that up, because then you also bring up how things get declassified, and of course, I stumbled across this stuff on a mainstream media news site, and I'm like, okay, you just hit the nail on the head when you said, okay, when does it become relevant? Is when the mainstream media makes it relevant, right? And this is one of the documents on this report.
Well, we move at the slowest pace of the slowest person. So think about that. Human existence is always and have forever has been at the pace of the slowest person that we deem a part of our group. Right.
Totally.
So we operate on the lowest common denominator.
Right.
So if the lowest common denominator can't handle the truth, that's what we, as every human being on the planet Earth, is going to have to operate under.
And you hit the nail on the head, because this document that they declassified is from April 16th, 1976.
And that's any talk about there being a space force.
Yes.
Because there has been a space force. There has been things from the Air Force that kind of transpired and became this kind of shit.
Now, this is what it said. No, not yet. I mean, I didn't have time to, but I mean, I kind of previewed it a little bit on my phone, and I'm like, okay, it seems interesting. But look, a lot of this shit is blurred out, and I don't know why. I don't understand this process.
Redaction of government information is just proof of liability. Because think about it. If a government is going to go ahead and tell you that this is information that is sensitive, it's either sensitive to one of two things. It's sensitive to their objective or their motive.
Because it says right there in that first line, per the request in reference B, we attempted to obtain analytical guidance on the UFO. I don't even know what that thing is blurred out. Subject. What the fuck?
That could just mean, though, that in 1976, we obtained a unidentified flying object that later on could have been identified as a Russian spacecraft. That really, I mean, that's what this kinds of stuff means.
Because it also reads, we contacted the ADDST to see if he knew of any official UFO program, and also to attempt to answer some of the questions posed by, look at that, all that shit's blurred out. And for all we know, is probably, what's his name, Nazi scientist that we stole basically and imprisoned, and had him create NASA. What was his name? Von Buren, right? Von Braun. I said Von Buren. Von Braun. So I mean, how credible is this shit? I mean, again, what you mentioned, Preston, it's like, how the fuck is all this stuff blurred out? First and foremost, like what? Why?
Let me ask you a question. Do you trust astronauts? Do you trust the credibility of an astronaut, a person who lives within science?
I've never met one, and I've never really kind of been in that. Never really immersed myself in it. But the only astronaut I've ever really kind of immersed myself in was Neil Armstrong.
Buzz Aldrin.
The guys that they're the ones that landed on the moon.
Yeah. So there have been now, again, I'm not really I don't know exactly who it was, but there have been astronauts that have said that they have seen things that have been extraterrestrial, have been given information, and the level of credibility that those people have prior to this. I mean, they're shaking the hands of the fucking president of the United States. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that on a moral level, that person's a great human being. I'm just saying that they have worked so incredibly hard at their craft and what it is that they have studied so hard to be able to do, scientifically worked their ass off and gone outside into the fucking in space. You know what I'm saying? Those are the physically tough and smartest human beings, brilliant minds that humanity has to offer. Their level of credibility should be regarded as some of the highest on this earth. Would you say? Would you agree?
I absolutely. And I mean this because I mean this with all due respect too, because I know there's a lot of, I guess, doubters of the moon landing. But then again, there's also a spin to that I've also read, like who was holding the camera. And a part of me thinks it was probably an extraterrestrial, an alien that was helping him out, man. I don't know that for sure.
No, you know what
that's an idea I fancied for a while, but I mean, at this point, I'm convinced we did land on the moon.
Do you think that we really were chilling with ET up on the moon during, like a routine thing that we're going to go ahead and show the world? They're not going to show that. They're not going to show any that transpired during that at all. Like, there was an alien involved in that, right? So, like, there are conspiracy theories that talk about how there are installations on the moon already and have been since the 60s and 70s.
Wait, what do you mean installations?
Like full on fucking government
bases.
Like bases, homie. Like full on like real shit. Like
they got Club Moon. They got Club Moon with the bottle service up there. Or what's going on, man?
Yeah, they got that Pluto Nash going on up there, dude.
Astronauts probably have to sign something stating that they cannot disclose what they witnessed. Of course they have to. You can't. Yeah. So it's like this. We have worked for companies that are shit companies. I've worked for, like, I'm not saying Verizon is a shit company or AT&T is a shit company or whatever, right? But like, we've worked for companies that don't deal with fucking trade secrets of human existence, of the existence of aliens and hiding that from humans, right? There are companies we've worked for that basically straight up tell us that if we talk about something that we witnessed, like a new iPhone coming out, we're gonna get in trouble. Those people fucking have their entire lives like put on blast if you look like you're doing something wrong, or saying something that isn't real.
Yeah, I mean, NASA isn't, like, this goes back to what, NASA is not part of the government. NASA's a private. It's like a private company. It's like SpaceX.
It's like just nothing right here in Pasadena, Altadena.
So it's like it's as federal as Federal Express. It's not part of the government. So this whole thing that Trump did with SpaceX, with Space Force, I think what's going to happen is if this thing evolves even more, can phase out NASA and maybe absorb it. And then we'll have an official, like, government-run, military-type space travel, branch.
And that's bullshit.
If it plays out to, I'm just saying, if it starts to grow more and more, I can think that could happen in the far off future.
Edgar, we can't
hear you. I'm not more you, man. But if you're an astronaut, working for NASA, obviously they're going to tell you, the government's going to come up to you and say, look, there's this shit out there. You're probably going to see this, probably going to run into some stuff,
Sorry about that. That was my fault.
They're going to make these astronauts. They're going to have the astronauts say, look, you can't say anything about this. You can't do anything about this. And the government can even go as far in saying,
okay, so let me, Roger, sorry to cut you off, but let me ask you this question. Elon Musk just went on Joe Rogan, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, Preston? And he stated, and I quote, we will be making regular trips to Mars, or not Mars, but like outside of, Earth
interplanetary space trips
in 2 years.
Now, this is what I mean.
Fucking years.
This is what I mean by they have said that we have installations on the moon already. Now, I'm not sure if everybody knows. We haven't been on the
installations.
We've been on the moon since Apollo. The Apollo program.
Apollo 18 or 17. It was 17. Apollo 17, I believe, was the last Apollo mission. So
like in mid-70s.
We have not visited the closest floating object to the planet since the 80s, right? Now, we have since then sent a couple, I believe. And I was in 5th grade when I went and visited JPL when they sent out, what was it, Pathfinder? Or it was
something.
It
was the Pathfinder. I think it was. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think it was Pathfinder. Yeah,
Pathfinder. So it was. There was the first Mars rover, the first rover to Mars, basically.
Yeah.
And it took 3 years for them to get for that spaceship to get there, to get to Mars, land there, and then their mission began. That little rover's mission began, fucking going out and taking little samples and shit. That little rover has been there since 2000.
Yeah, we haven't visited the moon since December 1972. It was Apollo 17.
17. Apollo 17 in 1970.
Yeah.
I thought it was the 80s. It's the 70s. But that's that. So when you think about how long it's been since we have really done anything out there, think about that. Do you think that they haven't made any kind of like real advancements in, I mean, I don't know, going to the moon and seeing everything that they, that's on the moon and surveying all parts of it that they didn't tell us about? They probably did. They probably did all kinds of shit up there and didn't tell us about it. Being a private group, they don't have to disclose that information.
Right.
They're a private business, just like, I mean, a private entity, just like SpaceX is. And I mean, bottom line is there has been travel that wasn't, I think, maybe given, we weren't given privy to the information. They made the internet station.
Here's the reason why. Here's the reason why, Preston. Here's the reason why we haven't been back. Apparently, this is alleged, right?
The dark side.
We haven't been back.
Aliens.
We haven't been back to the moon in 47 years because political risks have prevented it from happening because the program takes too long to develop. And it costs too much money, almost $1.6 billion in funding. Right now it would be a current plan to go back to the moon. Now here's
the Cold War. They thought that Russia and all these other fucking all these other countries were putting weapons on the moon and had bases there.
Yeah,
this was talks of what was going on in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Now going back to your Prometheus,
they've been doing.
Going back to your Prometheus theory. Now, have they seen something there? But the possibility is yes. Yes, there've been astronauts that know.
At the size of the universe, just the sheer size of the universe. Now we're talking about math.
Yeah.
I'm not a math person. I don't like math, but I do know how to recite information. Okay. So having spoken, Caltech is right here in Pasadena.
Totally.
As I used to work at Trader Joe's. I'd get out of Trader Joe's and I'd walk right over to Caltech and I'd hang out and I'd sit and listen to seminars in their little foyer and courtyard there, right?
Amazing.
There have been people who have studied and sat with Stephen Hawking and some of the most brilliant minds on this world that I listen speak at this place, right? So, I mean, if you have the opportunity, check it out. It's fucking amazing. It'll blow your mind, right?
Yes, it is.
So I listened to a physicist explain how if we were to meet another being outside of this universe, outside of our planet, right? Within this universe, because again, a universe means it implies that there is one verse, one reality, one of everything, wherein which there's multiple theories that support the evidence in which, Einstein also said too, relativity and gravity and everything involving that implies that there are multiple multiverses, levels to every aspect of reality, meaning like dimensions could be another term for multiverse. So first level dimension, second level dimension, we live in the third level of dimension, so there's different levels to every aspect of it, meaning that there is an infinite level. We are just in the third, right? So with that being said, everybody just needs to watch the movie Interstellar just to understand some level of what I'm talking about.
Oh Lord, that movie fucked me mentally for like 2 weeks, man.
All based upon real physics and actual theories and things that are put into a film. Okay, that's all that was. Okay,
if you were to tell me, Preston, hey, you only have this much time because it's equivalent to 10 years out here. So you have 2 minutes. And I'm like, what? Dude, that I would fucking lose my shit.
That's the aspect of when we travel, we would not be meeting ourselves if we just went to Jupiter and back. So a machine traveling there and back, like our probes, all of our satellites, Sputnik, all of those things can travel that and come back because they transcend time because they're inanimate objects. They are not real. They do not breathe. They're not living.
Yeah, now, how does that apply to these beings? Apparently, okay. So in Prometheus, it was a Titan, right?
I don't know about that. That's based upon a theory. Now, what I'm saying that this physicist and this actual person who I listened to speak about this theory said that if we were to meet any being around our planet that came from outside our solar system, our observable galaxy, perhaps, the universe is expanding at such an infinite amount of speed. Not even speed, it's something that we can't, it's something that's outside of that, right? But it's expanding so quick, it's beyond anything we can perceive, right?
Right.
The space in which exists between things, like different galaxies, continues to expand as well. So everything exponentially gets further and further and further away.
Right.
So we have reached, and it was billions of years ago, that we have reached a point in which time and space is moving so fast that the amount of time and space that expands is further than is perceivable by human beings to even travel. So you could not reach even the next, like if you look at there's a really great YouTube channel that explains this, and it's called Kurzgesagt. It's like a German channel. Explains all these really cool, it's physicists and all these really cool people get together and talk about this shit, and they put together these really awesome videos for people to understand, right? These ideas and things that these physicists put together. And it explains that there are like quadrants to the size of so think about it. Our planet, our solar system, our galaxy, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger from there, right?
Yeah.
So our universe is the biggest aspect of it, but there's all these different levels in between it. So it's like, if you think about a quadrant is just where the Milky Way galaxy and every galaxy in that quadrant exist. So the space between quadrants move so motherfucking fast and far between each other that basically we really could not reach the next quadrant. And then there's things that are bigger than the quadrant that entail all of the quadrants that are in that. So it's like space just basically is, if you think about it, bigger than humanly perceivable. It's bigger than what we could think of, conceive.
And then there's a troll of the galaxy, which is the fucking black hole.
Well, then
there.
If something came from within that spectrum of us being able to do, it has to be an origin in which we know already currently exists, which is us.
Yeah.
So that means that if in an alternate future, which because there are infinite amount of possibilities and an infinite amount of times, because time doesn't exist outside of human existence, because who is there to observe it? No one. Right? Time is just something that human beings have labeled something we've observed. That doesn't mean it so to be, right? So like, for instance, we're looking at the universe and we're trying to say that's what that means. Until human beings existed, that's not what that meant. It was, you know what I'm saying? So really, anything to come back to human existence would be something that we already know to be existing on a time frame that doesn't exist, because time is not linear. So for instance, if we met something coming to us, it's already us from a different time frame, a different point in time coming back to see us. So basically, the way in which this person explained, this physicist explained how extraterrestrials would look to us would be either way far in the future or way far in our past, of a form of something that we came from or are going to become.
Really?
That's what the Greys. That's why when you think about Greys, the aliens, when you get into the ufology and people speaking about this who are really involved in the community, they speak on aliens and different species or subspecies. I don't necessarily know if you would actually say the word species. It would just be type of.
That's a good one.
Species.
I mean, because we are a species.
They say that there's
being on the Terra
species, that there's 52 different species of the alien extraterrestrials out there.
That human
52
human beings have cataloged.
That we've cataloged. Yeah.
Wow, this is interesting.
The most famous and most popular ones that everybody knows of are the Greys. Of course, the little ones, that the big heads, black, dark eyes and stuff. There's also the reptilians. The one that I was telling you about earlier today, known as the tall whites. The what?
There's insect ones that look like the
insect ones,
some shit.
Yeah, you should watch that one I was telling you about, the tall whites, dude. That one's pretty crazy.
Richard says, I hope the truth comes out before I leave this earth. I think we, the people, have the right to know something as significant as this. Clock is ticking. Now, here, let me make a comment on that.
Bro, I would say we all deserve to know the truth, but dependent on where we go after we leave Earth, we already will know that type of shit. Like, I think after we're done here, we'll know everything that happens. I trip out lately on this stuff. I'm the type of nigga that likes to trip out, right? I think about this kind of stuff all the time. But Edgar, what were you gonna say? I'm gonna grab another drink. Does anybody want another drink?
Go for it. I'll take a virtual drink. Hit me up. So, to answer to add to your comment, Richard, here's my thing with this whole declassification, and now they're really kind of romanticizing UFOs, extraterrestrials, all this shit. And my thought and opinion on this is we should have known about this a long time ago, and Hollywood just did us a disservice by conditioning us to fear the unknown. And then there's Roger mentioned World of Worlds. They mentioned Signs. They mentioned all these movies, and quite frankly, like, what did it do to us, Roger? It fucking terrified us.
It desensitized us. It made us more. It made us more afraid of experiencing this, out of the box thing. Because one of the things okay, so back to what Preston was saying about, traveling and stuff.
Black Label.
The video is not a universe. Black Label.
What Fire in the Sky scared the shit out of me. Yeah, that's one thing. People have stories of horrific abductions. There's people who have stories of having sex with aliens. There's people. There's this guy who had this experience, and he put it on paintings and everything. And if you watch that other one called Extra-Ordinary, about the man and this woman who were abducted, and they had babies with like hybrid aliens and stuff. There's just so many things out there, so many things that people have been talking about for decades. How could it not be real? How can it not be real when there's so much evidence out there, so much people saying so many different things, but they're all similar in some way. You know, there's so many things in our written history that talk about unknown or unexplained events in our human history. You know, one of the things that Preston was saying that about our universe. If you were to see that interview, I forgot his name. His last name is Hall. He talks about the tall whites, and he says, yeah, like he says that he was able to converse with one of them, and he asks them, "Is there
like
what?"
The tall whites. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the tall whites, the Zeta Reticuli.
Yeah. So he asked them, "It's like, are there more? Is there other life out there besides you?" And he said the response to it was really good. You know, when that makes you think. It's, you believe in your God, you know, your creator, and he created this world that you live in. Do you really think that he's going to stop at that one? You know, if he created this world that we live in, do you really think that this creator is going to just make the one? You know, it's like if you make a car, are you really going to stop at making just one car? You're gonna work on it some more. You're gonna just
absolutely not.
And then there's the other fact about how traveling in space is like traveling through time itself. There's no way of, you know, keeping track of it. There's no way of measuring it. We measure it by light years, and usually
exactly. It's like it's outside of a human existence to be observable.
Right.
It's not, you know, the distance to travel. It changes.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to also ask yourself this: if you have the ability to travel from one planet to another, or let's say just one planet to another star outside of our solar system, you're really not just going to go travel all that distance, which usually could probably take maybe 10 to 20 years if we measure it. You're not just going to travel there, show up in the atmosphere, and then just fade away. You know, you're not going to do that. That's why a lot of the theories out there are saying that most of the time, most of the things that we see in the sky, these aren't vehicles that are, you know, outside of our world. It's either experimental vehicles from the government or things that we've built, or it's interdimensional, meaning that these beings have the capability of literally folding space, like creating a wormhole that allows you to just literally just have 2 points in the solar system, and then you fold that space together, and all you have to do is just skip into it, just take one step into it, and distance and time are irrelevant. So,
now let me ask you guys both this question, because I really want to know, because I'm curious as well as both of you. Okay, if these beings are visiting us, why us? What do they want from us? What is it that drives their curiosity? Obviously, Roger turned me to this one documentary where the guy was videotaping these, I guess, beings coming to his pad all the time, and they were just conducting experiments on his ligaments, on his joints. They repaired a bad knee he had, and I'm just like, okay, what the fuck do they want? But you guys made mention of the way our human body heals itself.
Yeah.
So is that part of their intrigue or what?
There's theories out there. There's talk that supposedly, like Preston said, there are future selves. It's humanity evolved into a point in time in the future where it can no longer. What?
Comes back to guidance.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, they come back. Like, let's say.
Yeah, are we like an old carburetor on a fucking classic car or some shit?
No, I just want to say
they're guiding us. It's a level of guidance, observing. There's no reason, like what Roger was saying, there's no reason for them to come here and observe us. They exist in two times. They see what's happening. They're understand. Time doesn't exist, right? So what we say is time is happening is something that we deem as time here. Just because the Earth is rotating around the sun doesn't mean that that is time. All right. That is just the perceived way of humanity's way of defining here. Right. So with that in play, and I'm trying to help your viewers too. Right. So with that in play here, understand that when vehicles travel here and humans observe that, Roger basically hit the nail on the head. It's either A, governmental vehicles that are being reverse engineered and tested and things that we're doing here, right? Or B, there are phenomenon that there are people who like something like 96% or 94% of all people who have had some level of UFO story get debunked. But the people that have not gotten debunked, not only their evidence stands so much in their favor, but everything helps their story, corroborate their story. And physics and science can't explain what they have witnessed and observed, right? So basically, let's just say something less than 10%, very, very, very basic number, something like less than 10% of people are actually observing, who claim that they observe spacecrafts or have interactions with aliens and UFO experiences are actually telling the truth and saying that in terms of what we can deem credible, right? And out of those people, all the information seems to point in one very similar direction, which is very, very similar to how the correlation to every intercontinental civilization have very similar traits in their ways of navigation, their ways of studying the stars and astronomy, correlating that to how they built their pyramids and their technology during the time. Now, when you're looking at like so many things that connect something as old as existence of the universe, right? Human beings are existence in all of this. If you're really going to look at from the beginning of what we can observe as time or observe as like the existence of anything,
right?
Are less than a fraction of a billisecond, trillisecond, like the smallest infinite amount of like time throughout all of this. So we are so ignorant to say that we are the only thing that exists. So to your point, Roger, if there was a God that just went like Thanos and said all life is gone, but he said and all life exists, why stop at just Earth? Why stop it here? Why not look at every aspect of what you created and create life in your image? We are all in an image, which is why this is something that I've heard, which is a very interesting theory and topic. If you look at the smallest and the largest observable anything, it mimics itself. Now, what I mean by that is an atom. An atom is... There's something smaller than an atom, which we all know. Most people believe that an atom is the smallest thing. Now, they haven't caught current science, and current science would say that there are things called quarks and smaller particles within an atom. It wouldn't be called a particle. It would be called something else. But there are things that are smaller than an atom. But let's just say that an atom is the smallest thing that is observable, right?
Yeah.
What is an atom? It's a small little center, circle, nucleus. Things rotate around it. What obviously does the same thing? The universe. What does that larger? The solar system, right? Sorry. What does that smaller? The solar system. What does that bigger? Galaxies. What does that bigger? It mimics itself on larger planes of existence. So let's say we could observe time being the time that it takes for me to punch something, right? On this planet, on this plane, on our level, right? Me punching has a level of speed to it that is very, very slow to a fly. A fly is smaller in comparison to us, but they live on a smaller frame and spectrum of the universe. So everything is a different speed and matter.
Shit, I never fucking thought of that.
We've watched the movie Ant-Man, right? Have you watched
it? Yes. But now that you brought it to an actual example with a fly.
Okay.
A fucking fly.
The movie Ant-Man explains the concept of time, size, space, gravity very well, considering the fact that we are our size. Like I said, my punch goes at a certain speed, right? But when I'm trying to punch a fucking fly, it's real difficult to do that because their level of size, it's different. Their gravity and everything that they're dealing with helps them deal and see things differently than we are. Now take that small, it's a relative level of quick speed, right? So if you get so small, you're living on something that we can't observe, that is so minute that now your universe, your observable universe changes. So what's to say, like the end of Men in Black, we are not just the fucking little pinhead inside of the galaxy, inside of, you know what I'm saying? That just fucking is inside of a marble. It's a fucking marble that the fucking alien is flicking and throwing on it. What is to say our existence isn't the distance between a drop of water falling from the tip of a leaf down to a fucking a pond? Our existence, our life on a level of an observable universe is only that of which we can see and observe. So we're looking at seeing our level of expansion in this universe. Our observable universe is so much faster than we can observe or see or measure or understand.
There was an episode of Star Trek that explains that talks about what you're doing, what you're talking about. It was this, they run into this planet and they enter the orbit of the planet, and then they observe it, and they've been what they were observing was this planet is changing constantly every second.
That's no different than that interstellar thing. When you're up there seeing something happen, that's 10 fucking years for every 10 seconds that's happening.
For every second, yes. It's what you're talking about, how something in the macroverse to the microverse. You know, microscopic to macro, things like that. They move at a different time.
All happening in the same place.
They age faster.
Speeds.
Yeah. So it's like,
so y'all need to stop this shit. I'm not high enough to understand this podcast.
Hey, basically, what he's saying is, if I was able to move as fast as a fly, you know, not only would I be able to move things before you grab it, you won't be able to see me. But the problem with that is I'd age a lot faster.
Wait, say it again. Say it again.
You would age faster. Your metabolism would speed up, and you would age a year in just a second. You know,
for the matter of time in which you live in, the universe in which you live in, because your level of relative size and every aspect of you at that point accelerates to that level. So that's the point in that it's like, okay, you unlock a certain percentage more of your brain to be able to bend time. Okay, look at, you know what? I'll tell you what. I totally believe everything that we're talking about, but I the thing that I believe more than anything that this is, all time, all life, all of reality, everything we're dealing with, this is the Matrix. We are 100% in the Matrix. This is not the Matrix that Neo lives in and everything.
I was just saying, not the one that the Hollywood movie depicts.
No, that is not the Matrix in which we live in. We are a brain in a vat. We are all plugged in to something within ourselves. Now, that is metaphorically can be taken like, okay, we are all connected to God, to Jesus, to enter whatever word means Yahweh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just comes down to things like vampires and aliens and werewolves and, you know, governmental conspiracy exists in which minds can understand it. Okay.
Kind of like NASA is run by Illuminati.
Well, every governmental, every form of a governmental entity deems control upon something, upon a population.
That's the reason why you build it.
Well, there you go. It's a construct.
Yeah.
Construct in order to control what you are building it upon. Now, when we think and we deal with, I mean, this whole show is about aliens, right? Now, what is aliens? This is all based upon a level of control, information, control of the population, the information that gets to the population, a control of the information that potentially the aliens have for us or not, right? So this is all just another layer. Aliens as another topic, another layer to existence of human beings. Thinking about something greater than ourselves, trying to leave this planet, Earth. I personally think this could be a conspiracy that you guys want to go ahead and kick off on, right? Mm-hmm. Have a reach into this bag of potato chips and pull out whatever you get. Okay. Imagine we really are in the Matrix. We really are plugged into something greater than ourselves, but that thing is not something that is going to give us any level of satisfaction at the end of all of this. It's not going to go ahead and give us any kind of gratification as to a pat on the head or a pat on the back for doing a good job on this earth. You know what I'm saying? Like when we die, when this is all over, we don't know what happens. I don't know what happens. You don't know what happens. So when we all speculate about it, it's as good as basically like piston in the wind. It's just, right. It basically comes back to like, everything is a layer that pushes us down and further into just like believing what we're told, into just being easier to submit to some shit, easier to just not ask a question or why? Because notice that society and things freak the fuck out when you don't do what you're told. When you ask why,
when you don't do the normal.
But the thing is, when everyone's stream is being pushed this way, when everyone's direction is that way, and you say no, you don't even fucking go against it. You just stop. Maybe you don't even stop. Maybe you just fucking notice. Yeah. Maybe you just.
I'm one of those people. I'm just like, hold on, wait, why am I going this way?
Well, this is where I'm getting at. Yeah. When the 87-year-old man who had the credibility of the whole world and every scientist behind him, you know, who were talking about, you know, what was his title? What was his title? The Joint Chief of Staff.
He was the
space or whatever in
Chief
Israel.
Security, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. When he says 5 years ago they would have put me in prison, they would have put me in a mental hospital, they would have, right? Think about when you behave in a way that maybe doesn't really like do anything bad, but you're just like wondering like, why would I do that? Why would I say that? Why is that all right? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I just think those two things are very, very similar. They could go hand in hand. Because when you start talking about aliens and when you start fucking telling people that this is what you believe in, you get put in the same category as people who start saying, you know what? The existence of everything that we're dealing with, man, isn't even what you fucking think it is. Now you get put in this category of, you know, maybe this guy deserves to be in the loony bin. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, everybody who talks about that gets put in that same category. Maybe it's just me. And if, you know.
No, it's fun you bring that up.
You think that I should be, you know, put in a loony bin because I believe that things that are going on in the universe and, you know, our perceived, you know, reality doesn't really align with things that like are happening. Have you guys seen these videos that are just like the alien videos, the UFO videos, but they're a fucking bird that's flying, but it's mid-air stuck, glitching, glitching the fuck out. Like
we talked about this before.
Yes, I've seen it.
I say this because the universe, the Matrix, could be fucking planting these UFOs so that you and I are talking about this instead of fucking noticing the you know, like the deja vu moments that you guys have 2 or 3 times a day. Like, what the did that
Richard, I hope you're kidding, man.
Yeah, you better be kidding.
I think he wants to know what I'm listening to. The government does listen all the time, Richard. They listen all the time.
At the same time, they're probably trying to recruit us for a job so we can shut the fuck up. Hey, that's what they do.
could be Colin Farrell in that movie, The Recruit, and all they want to do is just make us fucking guilty for something.
Yes,
we're thinking that we're going to go ahead and be recruited to go ahead and save something. They come into our place and yo, we want to go ahead and talk to El Royer and say
El Royer.
El Royer is going to go ahead and be our brand new spokesperson for XYZ. And in fucking 6 months, El Royer is fucking, the face of another Epstein case or something.
Yeah.
That's stuff. What I'm saying, that's the kind of stuff that happens to people like us when we are.
That's hence what Wit just posted right now. If it goes blank and I never hear from me again, then I know I'm legit. And that, what's funny is this happened to me a while back. I was talking. We and Roger first started doing these podcasts about maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And of course, we compile as much footage as we can of the stuff that we see in the sky, right, Preston? And some of it just magically disappears. I don't know how. Don't explain. But there's a logical reason behind the disappearances. But who knows?
Years ago, this is attached to the noises that you were hearing at night randomly. Remember that?
Oh, they're still happening.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. Those kinds of things
they're still happening
in the world. Are they aliens? Let's find out. Show us some of these videos.
Yeah, it's like, well, for example, what did Wood say? Damn, bro, what kind of weed you got? You're on the good one. I'm with it. Actually, man, this
isn't even on the.
This is just an enhancement.
Real shit. This is real shit.
Now, here's my other theory too: is Earth, and we know the fucking sun is a big ass star. We know that, there's people that believe the earth is flat. Who knows? We don't even know that. We just know what we were taught, right?
Really?
I'm not saying, I'm not fancying that idea at all. I'm not fancying because I believe the earth is not flat. I'm not one of those. But after listening to these people and how their perspective forms, I understand the questioning that I was brought up to, question everything. Okay, that's totally fine. However, whether the earth is flat or not, whatever, that's something I don't fancy. One thing is for sure. We live in, it's a thing like this, man. Filled with water.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's
a living thing, right? Plate tectonics. Who knows? At one point, I mean, I'm a firm believer of the Pangean theory, and ice age, a fucking meteor hitting Earth. Okay, who's to say other planets in our fucking solar system that have basically like no real life, like Mars, for example? Who's to say that they weren't just like us before, and maybe other beings just fucked it all up, kind of like we're doing right now with this planet. And either they flee or they died with it. And that's the remains of the planet. And maybe these extraterrestrials and these other beings are coming to say, okay, maybe is it salvageable? Like you were saying earlier, is it salvageable? Like let's communicate with these guys a little bit. But I think at this point, Preston, I think they're like, nah, these motherfuckers are crazy. They're killing themselves. They're fucking up the earth. They're making fake fucking meat at Carl's Jr. Like,
Carl's Jr.'s got fake meat.
Yeah, man. The Impossible Burger.
No.
That's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Hold on. I thought, I am faded right now. So when you said that because I was thinking like after this, I kind of want to go ahead and get me a Carl's Jr. Twice during this podcast.
But like, guess what? Guess what? Who turned me into I don't even know the term, but it's fake meat. Roger, when he ate one the first time, he's like, hey, dude, this tastes like the real shit, man. And I'm like, what? Yeah, that's a plant-based burger. I'm like, are you sure it's plant-based or did you just say it's plant-based? He said, whatever fucking sorcery they use, it tastes like the real shit. And these extraterrestrials looking at us like, you guys got a bunch of cows over here, real meat. Like, what's wrong with y'all?
I
No,
think
they need the cows.
Okay, you want some fig meat? All right, cool.
If all in fairness, though, I think that if the aliens were here, they're more intelligent than this. They figured out a way to eat without killing, potentially.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
They're telling us not to eat meat. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, a level of intelligence in the person, to me, Preston, like say an Elon Musk, say a Bill Gates, say a Jeff Bezos, say even fucking what's the big entrepreneur in Dallas? Oh, Mark Cuban.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it doesn't matter what shape, race. It's the nervous system that is built to fire at so many, I don't even know the measurement anymore. I forgot about my science class, but like, how does someone like that retain so much fucking information? I know there's been neuroscience to prove it, but even that neuroscience to me is very fucking alien. It's amazing and intriguing. Now, where does this type of human stem from? Right? And I've always thought that, like, oh yeah, typical upbringing. They grew up in, I don't know, like a suburb or even in the ghetto, or they're immigrants from Cuba, whatever. And these are the people that single-handedly impact the entire technological infrastructure of the world, man. The world, not just the nation, but the world.
They employ the right people for the right jobs. They're not the ones that single-handedly do it.
Now, that takes a lot of skill in its own. How even a war master, such as, I don't know, I can't think of one right off the bat, but the only war masters that I knew that were just so fucking genius and savage at the same time and intelligent were the Comanches, the Native American Comanches.
Yeah.
They knew, they schemed, they read the stars, they knew when to fucking. It's incredible how. Okay, you say you're born with this intelligence. Everyone says that you're born intelligent.
No.
Do you really believe that?
I believe that you are innately given some level of desire or some level of like intuition for wanting things.
You're really fucking.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? I would say
your long-term memory is
out of this world.
Well, even me. I mean, I know I'm not extraterrestrial, I'm not alien, but I am a particular type of breed that possesses a very, very, very particular gift that I'm sure a lot of people have, man. I mean, I'm just one of probably, I don't know, a million that were like, for example, Preston, you mentioned Joey Diaz. That motherfucker remembers all kinds of shit, dates, times, like shit that people wear. My thing is, the minute I smell something, it triggers a bunch of memories. And the minute I hear a song or I see a TV show or a picture, boom, like my brain starts firing. And now, hence, an extraterrestrial has those capabilities times 30. I believe. Who's to say that ain't Mark Zuckerberg? Who's to say that's not Bill Gates? Who's to say that wasn't Steve Jobs and he perished?
Why come here and do that? Why come here and be that?
I don't know. That's the very thing.
They don't come here to inspire too many people. You came over to my house a few weeks ago, blew my wife's mind, knowing where the fuck we live, where the fuck we sit for multiple years. You're a fucking alien, bro.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know how I retain. Even with Roger, I blow away his mind. He's like, "You remember that?" I'm like, "Yeah, you don't." And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, what? What do you mean you like?" I don't understand, Preston. Like, I still remember. Call me alien. I remember when I first watched Return of the Jedi at the movie theater. Guess when Return of the Jedi came out?
1983, 83, something like that.
84. I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
I remember why, because I looked up at the screen. I remember that fucking Ewok Wicked right there in the screen.
It scared you.
Oh, I didn't know what the fuck it was. I'm like, oh, what the hell?
It scared you. That's why.
And it was back then. It was at Mann's Chinese Theater. Now, what else do I remember from 4 or 5 years old? I remember living in City Terrace. I had a bird's eye view of Dodger Stadium, just like that, for the fireworks show. Every Friday at 9:30 or 9 o'clock, whatever, I forget what it was. I'm sitting there like this. I'm like 6 or 7, and I'm looking. Fireworks are over, and then I just see something fly over the palm trees like that. Stop and then just jam.
Aliens.
I didn't forget that. I'm just like, you're 6 years old. Like I'm a year older than my son. I didn't know what the fuck I saw, but I remember it. That's the part where I'm just like, wait, what the fuck? Like, I've been seeing this since I was a kid. Like, how could it not be real?
Check this out. 11 years old on the way back from a road trip. My mom, my grandmother, my little brother, and I driving back from Denver, right? It's probably 11, 12 o'clock at night. My mom's driving through the night. I'm in the very back seat of the Suburban, and I'm looking out, and we're probably somewhere in Arizona, right? Not knowing that this area is hot I'm 11 years old. Now I'm looking out and I'm listening to some music on some headphones and just a car ride. I look out of the window and I swear on my life, man, a humongous ball of light just burst in the sky. Everybody in the car yells. My body was like facing the direction in which it happened. And I saw the ball of light and like the thing didn't just go straight, dude. It went boom back up almost in the same fucking direction that it came in. 3 people.
Damn, it was Flight of the Navigator.
3 people besides myself in the car. And this is sponsored by White Claw, Ruby Grapefruit, Hard Seltzer.
You can reach us for sponsorship, Mr. White Claw. Just call me and you can email me.
I've never had a White Claw. Segue, 10 seconds. We went to 7-Eleven the other day doing laundry. I looked at this. I have no idea why. It looked so delicious. I got it. My girl asked to have it tonight. I've never had a White Claw. I'm going to take a sip for the first time.
It's pretty alien, bro. Taste it. It's pretty alien. Taste it. What does it taste like? Pretty alien.
That tastes like it will make me a very angry, very, very violent white girl later on tonight.
It's very popular in spots like Vegas, Area 51. Also, various churches and synagogues. It's very here's okay. Now we've reached the hour and 47-minute mark. There's the thought-provoking question of the podcast that we're going to end with, and this is going to take us home right here, because this is something that I always look up thought-provoking questions, Preston, and I always think of what the person would say. And this is something that you are definitely going to elaborate first, because I really want your thoughts on this. And quite frankly, I think the 3 of us are going to have very similar perspectives, but I just want to hear what exactly it is that you have to say about this. And the thought-provoking question of the night is, should everyone on the planet be striving towards a common goal? And if so, what would that be? Now, should everyone, is the question, on the planet be striving towards a common goal? Should they? That is the question.
What?
No.
You go first, Preston. You say no, right?
No.
Okay, why?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as Edgar so kindly likes to put it, live our lives for ourselves. Now, be kind to yourself, be kind to your neighbor, right? But to live for a common goal. We cannot agree on any one thing as a race, right? 7+ billion people on this planet, right? So it would be outside of our ability, I believe. Ability. I couldn't challenge humanity to do something like that, to agree on one thing, because to strive towards a common goal would mean that not only would we have to all listen to one thing, but then we would all have to consciously make the decision that that is something that we can do and are now willing to do, and then do it. How hard is it to get out of your followers everybody to tune in? I challenge everybody that is watching tonight. Challenge everybody that you know at some point in time, like a pyramid effect. Try to get somebody that you know to do something, and then to tell them to get someone to do that thing. That's basically what this is asking to do. So I don't believe that this is something, whether you say should or could, I don't believe it is something that could be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I come from.
Interesting. Okay. Roger, what about you?
I would have to disagree. I think that maybe we can strive towards something. If it is a goal, if it is something beneficial for everyone, in a way, then I think that we can, achieve.
Give me an example, though.
Okay, this is going to go back to the subject that we were talking about, and I would probably go back and say, go back to listen to Ronald Reagan's speech. I don't know if you remember.
Which one, though?
I'm talking about the one about where he says, his words were, "I often think how we would come together as humanity, as a world, if an outside threat from outside of our world would show up. Would we come together and work as one in order to achieve a goal in our human history?" So I think it is doable. I think that maybe we can, as a human race, as a people, if we were to say we can achieve this, yes, we can put our resources together and we can probably do something. But Preston makes a huge point saying that we disagree with a lot of things. I mean, look what happened last year.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't even get through that, there's probably no way.
7 million Americans who decided that Donald Trump shouldn't be the president.
Yeah.
But check this out. You brought up something that is incredibly important for tonight's topic. A president of the United States of America has a lot of privilege, and they're privy to a lot of information. A lot more information that we as citizens of the United States would probably be given. Would you say?
Right.
Well,
absolutely.
Donald J. Trump was given a lot of information as the president to potentially do what he wanted with. Now, he said that he was thinking of leaking information. Now, that's just what the media is saying, right? Now, that could just be another layer of information that the media said, or it could be completely true that the media is now saying just to throw us the fuck off. Because what you said, Roger, is how humanity would come together if we just found out that there was an unknown threat that came here. Do you think that a president would say that if they didn't believe that that's something that really could fucking happen?
That's why I brought it up.
A president says that shit because they know that that is a real threat that is fucking potential, right?
Which brings me to what current day. Which brings me to current day, Preston. This pandemic, what has it single-handedly done to not just the country but the entire world? It's forced people to say, hey, I think I'm going to take these precautions, or B, this is total bullshit and I don't believe it.
Well, you got to think about it. Donald Trump actually created, in his presidency, they established the Space Force, which is a real branch of the United States military. So now there is no longer, because honestly, there really were only just 4 branches of the military. I have a lot of friends who have served, and all of them would agree that that anybody who wasn't in the 4 main branches didn't really serve. No, I'm just joking. But that the fifth branch of the military is now like the fifth big branch is Space Force, and that being privy to a lot of information in that president's time frame, he created it in that sense, right? During his presidency is what his legacy is going to say now, right? It's probably one of the only good things about the guy's legacy. He's a trash human being. Trash president. I just got to get that in there. But that all aside, right? That is real information. That is something that they create. Yeah. Think about this. Human beings, everybody watching this who can go ahead, and I'm going to implore you that thing that I said to go ahead and do, not just because we want to go ahead and get views, but because it's a real thing. If it's a real thing and people want to know the information, give this video, share this video to somebody that you know who you think doesn't believe in this shit, or share this video with somebody who you do know does believe in this shit, that will share it to 5 more people, because this needs to get out. Everybody needs to know.
Yeah.
Presidents, people of the government, high-ranking human beings have information that you and I, as citizens, should be privy to. And the reason that I say that is because the question that's on the bottom of this screen here is, should everyone on this planet be striving towards a common goal? If we don't know what the hell the real truth is, we can't be striving towards anything. So when we have transparency from the government, the people in which we are asking and putting in place to run our lives and our ability for our families and ourselves to have a good life, to tell us the real shit, we cannot make the best decisions. So if that's something that we can agree on today and tonight, is that we should all be given the information of what's really happening outside of the observable universe, our eyes, things that we can potentially see. Government, we ask you, are there aliens? Let us the fuck know.
And do they live next door to Roger?
Yeah, they do.
So here's my response to this question. And I mean, I actually saw this question just this morning, browsing through my Twitter timeline, and I'm like, okay, so what exactly do we have in common? For example, that's kind of what I was thinking about. What it would say. Hold on, you're right, but how will we have transparency when the media tells us whatever they want us to believe? And this is mind reader here. This is what we have in common. We all get fed. We all get indoctrinated. We all get gaslighted with the same information from different outlets. I mean, I can name brands, I can name different faces, all of that. What do we have in common? We all turn to a source of whatever medium you want, whether it's on print, whether it's virtual, whether it's your neighbor that works for, I don't know, the LA Times, whatever. We all have that in common. We all seek and crave information, whether we like it or not. Why? Because we want to feel less pain and more pleasure for that reason. So that's what we have in common. We want to feel less pain, more pleasure. Now, are we all striving for that same common goal of less pain, more pleasure? The answer is no. So are we striving? Should everyone be on the planet be striving towards a common goal? The answer is no. And if so, what would it be? Here's what we should be striving for, though. And this is the thing that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. It's called, it's very simple. It's called growth. And I don't think the water is running. I don't think the garden has been watered. I think everything's dry. And what ends up happening is all this dry grass is just igniting and it just burning everything away. Why? Because we refuse to acknowledge this fucking dry grass. And if you get my metaphor, it's us as human beings not being empathetic towards each other. And I say this because, say, for example, there is some type of, I'm not even going to call it an invasion how Hollywood depicts it. Say there is that outside unknown that formally introduces themselves to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you fucking think is going to happen?
Okay.
Pandemonium.
But everybody in California, don't say certain people didn't tell you that you shouldn't be doing what the hell you're doing when it comes to certain rights that you should be having.
Right. And that, obviously, I mean, we're the three of us are on the same page with that stuff, especially with the First Amendment. I mean, the Second Amendment is a given. But at the same time, you have to realize this. Here's one common goal you should actually be striving for, whether you like it or not. You should at least know how the three branches of government work.
Most people
and why do I say that? Because people don't know that the legislative branch, which is the first one, are the ones that are doing this to the laws. Mm-hmm. What sometimes without even you knowing, they do this while we're asleep, right? And they're 3 hours ahead in DC. All right, everyone is to stay home for 28 days due to a new variant of virus, whatever. And who the fuck knows? They're doing this because there's something on the sky that they don't want us to see. I don't know this. I'm just conspiring, obviously. Now, those are the legislative people. This is a common goal we should be striving for. We should learn how each branch of government works. That's the legislative branch. They're the ones that type out the laws. And they hand this 500-page, whatever the fuck it is, to the executive branch. Who is that? The president. The vice president, Monica Lewinsky under the table, whatever. And these are the people that are being, okay, let me sign this into law, right? And most people think that just because, the camera is on there and, those old fucking things of Donald Trump going with the signature. Uh-huh. Did you ever see those, Roger? When he passed a law, he wrote a law, he signed a law to go into to pass. But people forget a lot of them didn't pass the third fucking branch of government, which is the judicial. Yeah. The fucking people that protect the Constitution of the United States. That's what they were chosen to do. Just because CNN and Fox are showing you this glamorous fucking video of Donald Trump signing or Barack Obama or whatever doesn't mean it's going to get passed. Yeah. That's what people don't understand. People need to understand that. That's the common goal. At least that's what I'm saying. Should everyone have the same common goal? No. But I'll give you one that you can at least strive to understand is learn about the three branches of government, how they work, and then take baby steps, because obviously the three of us kind of already we've had cliff notes for a long time, and now we definitely understand how everything works. Now, which brought me to the subject of extraterrestrials, aliens, and UFOs. That if you learn how these three branches of government work, you will know that yes, there's a lot of shit that needs to be declassified, and there's a lot of stuff that we do not know about because of these three branches of government.
Do you think that they're going to help? They could help us at any point in time?
If they choose to, but I highly doubt. This is back to this question where striving towards a common goal. This includes the three branches of government. The answer is no. They do not want to help us because, as George Carlin once said, there's a club. There's a very special club. We're not a part of it.
You know what?
Say again.
You know what's great about who you just brought up is George Carlin only spoke the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the truth.
Yeah, he did, and
of everybody.
And I mean, he said, and I'm going to quote him verbatim so everyone knows. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. Not the three of us, we are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe, all day long, beating you over the head in their media, with their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. And I'm going to quote Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine on one of the lyrics from No Shelter. He says, the main attraction, distraction, got you number, like numb, number, the numb. Empty your pockets, son. They got you thinking that. What you need is what they're selling. Make you think that buying is rebelling. From the theaters to malls and every shore, the thin line between entertainment and war. Think about that. And those lyrics were written in 1994. and then don't even get me started. That's just one lyricist out of ton, and that's just in the rock and roll community. I mean, don't even get me started in some of even the poets and rappers that I've known that have been basically swept under the rug for talking about this shit. Or even worse, like, oh, he got into a drunk driving incident, or oh, he OD'd, whatever. But that nonetheless, I mean, we're at the 206 mark now. I want to encourage everyone, for example, to not be afraid to every once in a while go against the grain. Don't be afraid. At least ask why.
Yeah.
Yes.
Question.
Don't be afraid. Don't succumb to conformity necessarily. Yet things are real. Acknowledge them, but at the same time, do not be afraid to question why. Why are things like this? Why is this happening?
If there's a valid reason for whatever it is that you should be fed the information that you're being fed, asking why should never be a threat to whoever it is that you're asking the question.
Correct.
If anyone who you're asking why to is threatened by you asking why, it's probably because whatever it is that they're giving you is bullshit. Mm-hmm. So anyone who's afraid of why is probably not someone you should be listening to, because why is just an explanation as to because this.
Right. Now that doesn't give you that doesn't give you full permission to be a straight up asshole and a dick. No. But be curious is what I'm saying. And I say this sincerely because from experience, just I have friends that say, hey, you're crazy. Like, why would you even think of that? Like, why not? My reply is, why not? I fancy the idea because there's a lot of stuff that has already been classified for years, from Operation Paperclip to Operation Northwood to MK Ultra. Now these UFOs. Why not be curious about it? What am I going to do about it? Talk about it. I'm not equipped to fucking start some type of class warfare. That's not the kind of person I am, first and foremost. But have that dialogue. It's okay to talk about it. I mean, unless you're in a position of power, then that's different, but we're just civilians. And do we deserve to know? Absolutely. Can we all handle it? No.
Probably not. No. I mean, just keep an open mind with everything, ask why, so that the reason why people say, why are you asking? Say, because it makes you think. It makes you think more outside of your box. This world is big, but it's also small because of the information that we have. So always ask, just pick people's brains. Just look.
Yeah.
Just look into it. And just, try to figure it out and look at it through a different perspective. It may not be the right answer. It may not be the wrong answer. It's just what it does is what you said earlier is it promotes growth. You know, it'll allow you to think more. It'll allow you to, you know, just look at the world and look at people around you a whole other different way. And
absolutely,
personally for me, it makes you a better person in a, you know, certain aspect. You know, you can achieve that other level where you can be, you know, the type of human that everybody wants you to be, you know, or that you should be. But
absolutely,
just asking questions, you know, you're not doing it to find the right answer. You're just doing it to evolve yourself. So that way you can,
yeah,
you know, become a better person for yourself. I mean, that's my view on it. So. This was cool.
I'm glad that both of you shared your views on this question. It's very, you know, I'm gonna be coming up with some deep ones pretty soon because I'm just diving into the rabbit hole of existence, so to speak. But man, Preston, thank you again for joining us, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been a long time coming. Of course, we're going to revisit this because we've had you on the podcast many times before. So
I would like to do that. I would like to do what you said. Let's go to where he's at, and then go and sit in one of those gatherings and just listen to those people talking in the courtyard and shit.
Caltech, yes, and I think they're having virtual. I think they're having virtual sessions right now, but now with LA County getting the go to open schools, I mean, baby steps. Obviously, I mean, I mean, everyone's saying yes, and I'm saying no. But that's just my thoughts. That's my opinions. I mean, I say, hey, hold up. Just what Preston was referring to earlier. Like, oh yeah, everyone run that way. Wait, why? Like the gunshots that come from that side. Like, don't go to the fire. Go this way. Or if you're being fired upon by two sides, okay, which way do you go? Go right down the middle and get low. That's my thought process. Is like, don't just like you know, Rage Against the Machine would say, like, you know, they say jump, you say how high. Why? Why do I need to jump in the first place? I'm in a fucking wheelchair like that.
So I want to tell everybody with what Edgar is just saying right now, if he will allow another minute just for this specific message. And that is this. 2020 has a stigma to everybody as being like the shittiest year, the worst year. It sucked. It was a terrible year. It was hard. But there are a few people that I know that decided to use 2020, not 2020, but just the time they were given to do something positive with their lives. First of all, I want to shout out to my girl. She's awesome. For one, kicking ass in school, continuing to be the human being who I know she can go ahead and be, but inspired multiple family members to go ahead and go to school. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same. I'm going to go ahead and put the challenge to every person out here. We spoke earlier before this podcast, actually, about school, where we're going, what we're doing. I'm 32 years old. In 2020, I was laid off, just like I'm sure many of you were. We need to go ahead and empower ourselves in the situations that we are in, regardless of what reality we live in, if they're aliens or they're not. We all live in the same place where we need to eat. We need to go ahead and have a roof over our heads, and we need to go ahead and take care of ourselves and our families. We all love ourselves, and we all want to go ahead and see our communities do better. So do better for yourselves. I would say that instead of saying, hey, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and sit on my ass and collect unemployment for the next X amount of months until, you know, Joe Biden goes ahead and gives people extensions or not. Do something that's going to go ahead and better yourselves. If you're not doing anything right now, go to school. Try to figure out a way that's going to go ahead and make yourself empowered by the situation that you're in. I was laid off. I didn't ever want to be put into a situation where I was like expendable ever again. So if we're going to go ahead and talk about trying to do something as like humanity or a common goal or working towards one thing, why don't we all educate ourselves? Go to your nearest community college, enroll yourselves in 6 units. That's 2 classes. If you can't do that, do 1. set yourself up for a success in at least giving yourself the opportunity to see what your community college or just like a community learning center or something that's going to give you the ability to impart yourself with some wisdom, get yourself a certification, an ability to get a better job, something that's going to go ahead and lower that minimum bar in your life a little bit higher. That's what I think that we should go ahead and be doing.
Yes.
And put a question on the screen of like, what can we be working towards? Let's educate ourselves and let's better ourselves. And what better way to do that than trying to work the system the way that it's been given to us? Like, if you get certifications, you can get these jobs. If you get these degrees, you can get these jobs.
Correct.
Go ahead and do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because that's exactly what you've been doing. That's exactly what Roger's done. And, props to both of you.
Thank you
for getting that degree, my man.
Thank you.
It's only the beginning. I mean,
man, some kudos right there.
And I'm obviously just still trying to figure out what is it that I want to do. I know I will figure it out. In the meantime, I'm trying to educate myself with other things as well. And one of them was nutrition, which is very difficult. Nutrition is one of the biggest things I've always had a problem with, not just mastering, but really getting in tune with. And I have just a little bit of a grasp on it. I need to know more. I need to learn more, just so I know that the aging process can be slowed just a little bit with the right nutrition. And I hate to fucking put this guy on blast because he's already famous as it is. The proof's in the pudding. Look at fucking Tom Brady. I mean, as much as a lot of us just hate seeing him all over the place now too. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm sour grapes because of what he did, but I can't, as a human being, I can't say, hey, this guy's doing things wrong, because he's not. And I think it was pretty legendary that he got fucked up at a Tampa Bay fucking boat party, throwing the Lombardi trophy from boat to boat. That's just stuff that, that's legendary shit that you're never going to see again. Probably. You're not.
You gotta think about it. A human being able to that lifestyle that guy's got is next level. Yeah,
I have his book, by the way. I read it.
So you have the lifestyle of the rich and famous sports stars. Boom.
Yeah. So, I mean, and here's the thing, and I'll leave you guys with this, is you have to hack those celebrity lifestyles to fit your own. That's what I've been learning. You're not going to have the money. You're not going to have the chef in the morning making you fucking egg whites and fucking avocado toast or some shit like that. But you can make something similar and build off of that while focusing on attaining your short-term and long-term goals. So, and what it would say, interesting about the educator-educated relationship, Edgar. I've been your student, bro, and you're an amazing educator. And if you don't know it, thanks. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm sure Preston knows too. I mean, I'm into helping people, and especially with this technology shit. Preston knows as well. I mean, when it comes to fucking shits, shambles, ones and zeros, I don't know much about it, but I know how to fucking operate the machine. How it works, I don't fucking know. I'm surprised that it even works to this day, Roger, to be honest with you. No, like, and then how do you fucking ruin it? Just pour water on it. Then you fuck it all up. That's what I'm saying. But hey, thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, shout out to all my Australian fans who have put me at the 5,000 play mark on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. They're a day ahead, obviously. I mean, they tune in. Nice. But they're mainly listeners, so they're on the app. Thank you again, and thank you for all the crazy DMs you sent me when the insurrection was happening. They were telling me shit like, "Hey, you guys done killing yourselves? Why don't you come over here and move with us Aussies?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay." They're like, "Oh, we don't have as much corona." That's to say, corona. But thank you again, guys, and peace out.
Thank you.
Yep. How do I leave this thing? Cool.